Hello and welcome to our video presentation. Our topic of this SO2 project is what is the relationship between young people and sport in the different countries like Spain and United Kingdom. We will each present and analyze one text from our respective language and then discuss what they tell us about the culture and the sport. We are a group of four and we will each present a part of our findings. Our analysis methods. The first one is Hofstad's cultural dimensions. We chose this topic because both dimensions explain the differences between both genders and it just shows the statistics of both countries. Two dimensions is especially relevant here. Individualism and versus collectivism, meaning whether a society focuses on individual or the group, and masculinity versus femininity, which is about whether the society values competition and achievement or care about equality. We use this model to understand how culture in Spain and UK may shape young people's relationship with the sport. The second method is communication analysis. When we analyze a text, we look at the sender, the receiver, the message, the medium, and then the purpose. We also consider how the language is used to reach a specific audience. We will now use both of these methods in these next two sections.
Yes. The text we chose is a news article from sportanddev.org published in 2023. The title is Youth Sport Trusts Concerned Over Slashing of PE Hours in UK Schools. The article is about a concern raised by the Youth Sports Trust, which is a children's charity in the United Kingdom. They are worried because schools across the country are reducing the number of hours dedicated to physical education. The article states that fewer than half of all the children in the UK currently meet the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity per day. The Youth Sport Trust is calling on the government to prioritize children's physical activity and stop the cuts to PE time in schools. The sender is the Youth Sport Trust. The receiver is the general public, politicians, and school decision makers. The message is that children's activity levels in England are critically low and that cutting PE hours is making the problem worse. The medium is a news article and the purpose is to raise awareness and pressure decision makers to act. If we apply Hofstad's cultural dimensions, the UK scores very high on individualism. This is interesting because the article focuses on the individual child and their personal health, not on sport as a collective or national tradition. The argument is that every child deserves the right to be active and that schools have a responsibility to the individual. We can also see the dimension of masculinity versus femininity. The UK scores relatively higher on masculinity, meaning competition and performance are valued, but the article challenges this by arguing that physical activity should be for all children, not just those who are sporty or competitive. It pushes for a more inclusive approach. Overall, the article gives a clear picture of a society that is aware of the problem but struggling to prioritize children's health at a political level.
Now I'll start by talking about Spanish. My text is a news article from the Spanish newspaper, and it was published in 2024. The title is translating to Spanish: teenage girls do half as much exercise as boys their age. The article is based on a study of around 3,500 Spanish students between the ages of 12 and 16. It examines the difference in physical activity levels between boys and girls in Spain. The study shows that only about around 23% of teenage girls in Spain meets the WHO's recommended level of physical activity, compared to 49% of the boys. The most common physical activities among the girls are dancing and walking, both of which are largely outside the organized sports systems. The center is obviously the newspaper reporting on university studies. The receivers, parents and schools, and policymakers. The message is that there is a significant and worrying gender gap in sport participations among Spanish teenagers. The medium is a news article, and the purpose is to inform and raise awareness of this inequality. And we're using Hofstede's Spain scores higher on collectivism than the UK. Sport in Spain, especially for football, is closely tied to the group identity, community, and national culture. However, this collective sporting culture has traditionally been male-dominated, which may help explain why girls feel less included in organized sport. Hofstede also identifies as Spain as a scoring lower on masculinity than many assume, meaning that there is a cultural value placed on a care and equality of life. Yet the statistics in the article suggest that in practice, girls are still left behind when it comes to sport, which points to a gap between cultural values and reality. The article makes clear that this is not just a personal or individual issue. It is a structural and cultural problem that affects a large proportion of young women in Spain.
I will talk a little bit about the discussion and conclusion. Now that we have looked at both countries, we can discuss our main question, which is, does culture affect young people and relationship with sports? And then we have the conclusion. Our analysis shows that the culture does influence young people's relationship in sports. We can see that in the UK the problem is discussed in terms of individual rights and political responsibility, and in Spain it is more rooted in a collective sport culture and a historically exclusion of the girls. By combining Hofstede's cultural dimensions with communications analysis, we've been able to see these differences clearly in our two texts. Both countries need to include more young women in sports, but understanding the cultural context is an important first step. Thanks for watching.